It's a special night in RaceKraft V8 Veterans. It's always good racing on a Thursday night, but this feels like coming home. It's season 23, it's round 2, it's the Skyline 250 from Mount Panorama. 250 kilometres of supercars racing ahead of us in RaceKraft V8 Veterans. At the track that these cars go hand in hand with, they are an inseparable pair, and some of the greatest racing ever has happened on these 6.2 kilometres. To bring you live coverage here on SimSpeed TV, David Haynes with Brock Cadday and Daniel Yeaman in the production truck. I've been here, you've been here, I think I've met you here. Mount Panorama, I mean, it's a holy pilgrimage, it's a great racetrack, and it's a name with so much history behind it.
Hello everyone, good evening, it's great to be here, and I think you're right, David, we have in fact met and spent time together at the awesome Bathurst 12 hour that gets held every year, and you're absolutely right, mate, this track is just synonymous with supercar racing. It's synonymous with a lot of racing around the world. The international drivers love it, they want to drive it. It is one of the most challenging tracks in the world. I don't think anyone will challenge me there with that 6.213 kilometre length, 23 turns with some mighty big straights there as well, so it's... Mate, there aren't really words to describe this place. If you've been there in real life, you know how special it is. If you've raced it on the sim, you know how difficult it is. It really is just a once-in-a-lifetime track.
So the stats all there at 6.2 kilometres. iRacing calls it 23 turns, and a lot of them seem to happen between Skyline and Forest's Elbow. One of the many places around here where the margin for error is very, very negligible. One of the places for overtaking. It's into turn 1 Hell Corner, into the chase at the end of the long Conrod straight, or just anywhere that the guy in front of you makes a mistake and you think you can get by.
Absolutely. It's, look, across the top of the mountain, we all know the brave will go for a move. It's not necessarily there, but hey, they'll give it a go. These guys, we know they love racing hard, and this track really brings out the racer in anyone. So I'm excited. I think we've got another big field here. It's looking like over 40 cars again. So they're excited. They're revved up. I'm getting jitters. This track, it just brings out something special.
So let's look at the championship standings. Just round 2, obviously, of this new season. So the championship standings is going to be the results and the bonus points of a week ago at Sebring. Jordan Ross took the win. He leads the championship, 190 points, 10 clear of Mike Teliancic and Ken Latta in third there. Wayne Walker and Darren Lobb tied up based on the basis of bonus points and the like. We'll look at the point structure in a little moment. Scott Mackay, Troy Stonestreet, Dean Logsdale, Travis Hunt and Mark Poynton completing the top 10 after Sebring. No drop rounds counted yet. It's way too early for that in season 23. So 250 kilometres of racing ahead of us, Brock, and we'll take a look at the format for that in what's going to be a 2 compulsory pit stop race.
And you're going to want them around here. 2 compulsory pit stops, a chance to stretch out the arms, take a big breath afterwards, and you know it's going to be interesting because they're going to be running full tanks. So again, like we saw last week, it's a similar race distance to Sebring last week. So that 254 kilometres, 41 lap race. We've got a starting fuel of 80 litres, but you can fill right up to the top at your first pit stop. So typical fuel burn, 4.6 to 4.9 litres per lap, depending on how greedy you are, with a total fuel to add of 110 to 122 litres over the course of the race with those 2 compulsory pit stops. The window opens at the end of lap 2, provided there's nothing funky going on with the safety car in the first lap. Critical lap for the second stop, lap 13 to 14 to be able to fit your whole fuel dump in. But in saying that, just about 30 laps, that gives you 25 to 30 laps to go on one set of tyres around here. They will be screaming by the end. You might want to be a little bit smarter with the strategy to make sure it balances it out.
Speak not of the likelihood of a safety car around this that is officially a street circuit. We know that one car making a mistake can lead to 10 cars making mistakes, can lead to the track being blocked. at the cutting over the top of the mountain, or even at the dipper, that's another pinch point for sure around the racetrack that could necessitate the safety car in this race. There's some of the possible race strategies. So in the red line would be if you stopped as early as possible for your first stop and filled the car, and then stopped as soon as the critical lap number was reached. That's a strategy that's sort of banking on safety cars, probably the fastest strategy otherwise, particularly for the leaders and our top qualifiers, would be something like the yellow strategy. You run the car a lot lighter, and you have a bit of tyre offset towards the end of the stints as well.
Yeah, exactly. And look, if you're in a compromised position, that early stop might actually work. Clean air is king in motor racing, even more so around Bathurst, where there's very little room to move and overtake. So if you've had a bad start, you're a bit behind the pack, a stop, if you're not going to go a lap down, might just be able to weasel your way back in, as you said, David, with those safety cars also potentially helping. If we have any, the guys raced pretty well last week, so I'm hopeful that we just get some good hard racing out here tonight and no dreaded SCs.
Yeah, you just got to cover that it's a possibility. So we looked at the championship standings. Here's the ways that you can accumulate points in RaceKraft V8 Vets. Obviously, it's taking race wins. It's finishing on the podium. There's the points based on your finishing position. But always critical to think about and keep an eye on some of the ways that you can accrue bonus points, which is how after one race we have two drivers tied for the fourth position. Is the bonus point for the pole position, bonus point for the fastest lap, 3 bonus points for a 0 incident race. Lead any lap, a bonus point. Lead the most laps, a bonus point. And join the Zoom call, 1 bonus point. That's something we're going to get to in a minute as well. But you can see how a clean and tidy driver in second place could accumulate more points than a reckless race winner. There's lots of things to think about across the season to maximise your point accumulation. Always good to start with trying to win. And Brock, a new season of RaceKraft V8 Vets. There's been a few reshuffling, some promotions from Split 2, some new drivers joining. This is the top of 4 splits, and we take a look at some of the drivers' stats.
And look at this, you can see some of these guys have entered into some, a lot of races. Like, I mean, look at this, just picking out a couple of names. Stone Street, 63 races, 52 of them in Split 1 as well. That's a great stat. Buckland, 139 with 42 in Split 1. We go down the list a bit here. Michael Taliantich, 81 races, all in Split 1. And my goodness, Tim Nicol, 152 total starts, 152 in Split 1. So that's some big numbers as we go. We keep scrolling through and the numbers just keep getting bigger here. Scott McCune, 209 total with 209 Split 1. Wow, these are some committed guys to be getting on the grid here for that many races. You can tell they absolutely love the racing. But we do have some guys like Logan Barnett, for example, only 20 starts and 10 of them in Split 1. So, you know, like there are some guys who are still pretty fresh here trying to race the veterans, so to speak. We got Jordan Ross up the top there. 10 starts, all in Split 1, 6 race wins, and 1 championship. Now, he was new last year, but it was a dominant performance. But this season, not year, we're still in 2025. The guys starting to inch a little bit closer to him. In Sebring, he had pretty dominant performance, but qualifying was a bit closer here at Bathurst. So, running down the list here as well, again, Darren Goosey, 219 total V8 vet starts. Like, you guys got to realise how many seasons that's over as well. It's pretty ridiculous to think how committed these guys are to good hard racing in the V8 Veterans League. Or Championship rather. It's excellent. Justin McLean, I think he takes the title for least amount of V8 vet starts so far. 1 total, 1 in Split 1. As we go down to Stacey Boyd, who we saw for the first time in Split 1 last week out at Sebring. So his first start. And we did actually have some good on-board vision with him last week too. Hopefully we've still got that this week. Robert Crisdale, Stephen Varga, David Nash beneath him as well, all with a good number of starts there as we continue to roll through the list here. And just, I mean, I got to tell you, David, I love this stuff. It's just great to see. I love iRacing. And I love to see so many guys committed to it.
Stats and stats until you're sick of how many stats there are. Take a look at that. 53 race wins for Jamie McKnight there, and there's a few others that have accumulated plenty as we've gone along. This is the Zoom wall of those drivers who are getting 1 bonus point. Dean Flavel, the Dino Dino, one of our favourites. And then Michael Stewart with the wall of racetracks. Jeff Thomas is getting ready. Jonathan Gallen's getting ready. Travis Hunt has got peppermint or spearmint gum. Who's to know? And Ken Latta, Tim Nichols, Stacey Boyd. There's Dan Hall with 4 monitors. David Kirby's got his headset on and getting focused. And Christian Smart, Greg Sharp. Hello, that's me, David Haynes. And then we've also got Chad Lewis, I think, just there.
All right.
Let's take a quick look at the grid. Let's take a quick look at the race start. We're heading straight to the racing here at Mount Panorama. Rob Crisdale's had a jump start, but up the front, everyone seems to have gotten away somewhat more cleanly. Jordan Ross from the pole position immediately being challenged into Hell Corner, turn 1. Almost some bumper to bumper between 2nd and 3rd place. As we get going, Wayne Walker and Darren Lobb launching their Ford Mustangs up Mountain Straight, side by side. Kenneth Latter in 4th, Matt Vanderkran's back in 5th. Tim Nichols dropped some spots from 7th on the grid back to 10th. But you see race leader Jordan Ross positioning himself perfectly to defend the critical inside line of turn 2 Griffin's Bend. Darren Lobb's out in the off camber and dirty stuff, not where you want to be.
Yeah, great to see you. That was Jordan Ross didn't have a great start there, but managed to position his car beautifully, as you mentioned, to keep 1st place. So Wayne Walker got a bit stuck there, and Darren Lobb nearly got something out of it, but now we've got Ladder up into 3rd place there. So as we now come up through Reed and Sulman to head across the top of the mountain for the first time, it's always a bit nervous. It's cold tyres. You're trying to go as fast as you can without putting it in the wall. Let's see. Oh, that's pretty brave from Jordan Ross there. Nice and tight as we come across McPhillamy into Skyline now and dip down into the S's. Ross isn't pulling too big of a gap here at the moment. Walker's keeping him honest. Walker wasn't too far off in qualifying either, so I'd be curious to see how they go on through the dipper now as we continue to come down the mountain towards the elbow to complete the first run across the top.
So a few drivers got jump start penalties. So I definitely saw Rob Crisdale engage 1st gear, the car rolled, and he's got a black flag for the jump start. Brad Doble may have done similar on that race start, flying across the top of the mountain for the first time and now down Conrod Straight. Like we said, everyone's starting with 80 litres of fuel on board, and this is where the speeds get crazy. 290 approaching 300 kilometres an hour. With the tall gearing, downhill, in the straight, a long straight towards the braking zone. At the chase, Jordan Ross has led the field through. There's one of many medal greats beside the racetrack at commitment points on the racing circuit.
Yeah, a little bit of damage on some of these cars here as well. Wow, we're going a bit wide in the background there. Keep it together, guys. Little bit of just damage. Here we go. Is that Doble coming in. So that was for that black flag to serve that. That makes sense. Back at the front of the field now. Jordan Ross has just got a nice bit of breathing air there, but Walker and Ladder are connected here. Coming up into turn 2, it is a good overtaking zone here, but you've got to be nice. You've pretty much got to be alongside to get it done because the camber can work in the outside driver's favour as well. So they'll stay line astern for now as we come through exit of turn 2. And watch as the field looks to have sorted themselves out fairly nicely here, which is great to see through the cutting. Great fisheye lens shot there. I'm loving that. And up we go back to Reed and Sulman again. I'm liking this. We're settled down.
Been a good start for Ken Latter because at turn 2, lap 1, he managed to pick off Darren Lobb when Lobb ran wide. Now Ken Latter is really keeping pressure on Wayne Walker here as well. We saw how close he was up Mountain Straight this time around on the driver in 2nd place, and he gets a much tighter apex there over the top of the mountain at McPhillamy Park as well, descending down Skyline, eating plenty of curb as these cars are wont to do.
Yep, these cars are known for it. It's not a supercar race if it's not eating lots of curb and bouncing off them, and you can get some air off that S's curb as well. It can be quite impressive, but yeah, looking neat and tidy here. So we're on board with Wayne Walker, looking back to Kenneth Latter, and again, I think Walker, he got a good exit there, so I don't think Latter's going to have much to offer. Oh, Taliancic around at the elbow. Oh no, he's doing the right thing here, backing it up. Oh, I wonder what's happened there.
Teammate to the race leader is backwards at Forrest's elbow, just in front of the Bathurst Light Car Club. Dale and Steve watch on, and he's got to wait for the whole field. And hello, that's not how that car's meant to be. Talyancic not the only driver with some problems. He's even got to wait for Robert Crisdale, who served his drive-through penalty. Bruce Tannock is missing a fair chunk of the front clip of his Chev Camaro.
Yeah,
His
that's
feet
definitely seen better days.
Breeze.
Looks like we have Damien Cairns into the pits early, which is that is about for that first pit stop time. So this could be a strategy to get him out of the flow of the traffic, get some fresh air in there, and see what lap times he can do. But yeah, certainly a bit to unpack from that lap 2. We thought it was all going well, and such a shame for Talyancic after an excellent result last week at Sebring, coming in second behind his teammate. Now with a fight back on the cards, and we've just got Jamie McKnight in as well, and of course Bruce Tannock with that front end off. That I don't think that's any surprise there.
So let's take a look at how the Green Synergy Sim Racing Mustang these days ended up backwards. Has he had a dodgy downshift in the middle of the corner there? The rear is let go in a weird way in the middle of the corner. Looks like it's all under control. Okay, third gear, second gear, first gear. No, he just... Oh, it has had perhaps an uncommanded shift up into second.
Yeah, that's very odd. But you wouldn't think that would cause him to spin out. Yeah, as he goes up to second. That's very odd, because usually that'd kill the momentum of the car, not make him spin like that. I'm sure that surprised him too. Like, he would not have expected going to second there as he's accelerating out would spin him around like that. But he's done well to keep it off walls there and keep the car in good nick. So if we do have any safety cars, he can play himself back in here. But the strategy might be to try and squeeze a pit stop in now, and he may go a lap down with that strategy. So I'll be curious to see how he handles these next few laps.
Big racetrack, I think he'd stay on the lead lap. He's 40 seconds behind the leader at the moment, so you'd need to lose another minute 20 to even be in picture for losing a lap. So I think at this point you could make a stop and still be 30 seconds comfortable from staying on the lead lap. That leader is still Jordan Ross, so he's accumulated a couple of bonus points. I've used the word accumulated a lot tonight, but pole position, well, he's led a lap now, so that's at least 2 for Jordan Ross. Plus he's leading the race, and he's in best position of all for the moment. Couple of gainers. So Troy Stonestreet, Jason Spriggs and Dean Logsdale all got past Tim Nicol on lap 1 as Nicol dropped from 7th to 10th. Elsewhere, Christian Smart we saw on the Zoom wall, maybe. He's +6. Eddie Parker +6. John Gallen +5. So this is perhaps some drivers that failed to qualify as well, if you're seeing that they started 40th to 41st. There's 44 cars out and running on the racetrack. And in qualifying, all of them set a qualifying time.
Interesting. We saw this from Smart last week, where he seemed to not qualify very well, but he raced his way through the pack really well. So maybe a bit of work needs to go into some qualifying laps. And I shouldn't say that too much, because my qualifying is usually very poor. But their RaceKraft, these guys, I think all of them last week were some big movers that we commented on throughout the race. So curious to see how they get through here. Looking now down in 37th at Darren Goosey, but hey, we've still got just under 40 laps left to go here. So a hell of a lot of time left to play out in this one.
Briefly looking at Troy Stonestreet in behind Scott Mackay here, so 6th, 7th, 8th, this group here on board with the 8th place car now through the chase over that little rise that coincides with the change of direction from left to right and can cause some troubles. Ridges Hotel, I'm too poor to stay there. You were talking about camping at the 12 hours, so I'm not sure you're staying there on a race weekend either. It's a nice overlook of the pit straight and, of course, at the braking zone at the chase. A little bit of movement elsewhere in the field in the teens, because David Kirby is coming in. Scott Mackay was well out of sorts in turn 1.
And now we get a look at our Zoom wall as we see all the guys in the heat of battle at the moment, racing their hearts out. Although I got to say, as usual, Travis Hunt, cool, calm and collected. We've had a big one. Jeez, Scott Mackay looks like, oh no!
The track's going to be blocked on this one.
The track's going to be jammed here. I hate to say it. Oh, they're still getting through. There's more guys getting involved in this. On board here, it looks like they've worked their way through. We've got multiple cars stranded there. Come on, guys, slow it up. Yellow flags. Yikes, that was a big one. I reckon 6 or 7 cars involved in that. What do you reckon, David?
Yeah, easily. So we saw Scott Mackay get a little bit sideways, and then behind him, Michael Stewart, maybe it was, got out of sorts. And then once a car's sideways, it blocks 2/3 of the racetrack there, and everyone else is going to drive into it. Michael Stewart's got a whole bunch of damage. Dean Logsdale's got a whole bunch of damage. Troy Stone Street's also got some as well back here. Oh no, there's more further around the racetrack. We're going to go safety car, and of course we had to. Surprised it didn't happen early. Look at Mike Taliansich stay on the lead lap and squeak a couple positions. If you can smell smoke, it's the replay machine firing up right about now, Brock Caddy.
Yeah, or it's the smoke's flying out of Daniel Yeaman's ears as he's trying to figure out which car to pick first. So it sounds like Troy Stone Street might be, as we went to the Zoom walls, Troy Stone Street, as we're watching here now. Oh, yeah, just a little nudge there. And he's been pinballed out into other cars, and then Spriggs has pinballed again.
Is in the red and silver, and so then he gets turned around. That blocks part of the racetrack. It all goes on from there because it's happened very high in our 40-plus car field. Okay, so Nickel's got damage here. Look at the amount of damage that Nickel has got, causing a bit of a car park. Oh! Michael Whiting around, and that absolutely blocks the track. The drain, the metal grate, is blocked.
And right on that racing line as well. Oh, that's a big hit. Oh, there's still more coming in. Oh. So just as we were hyping up Christian Smart and how well he's been doing, he's come through a blind corner there, no fault of his own, and clipped one of the parked cars there. So here we are on board with Smart, Fishy Motorsports. He's on the brakes. Oh, it was almost unsighted there with the car in front. Wow, good avoidance. Oh.
Through all of that, absolutely everyone has pitted, but Wayne Walker has jumped Jordan Ross into the lead of the race. I mean, this goes on in chapters and chapters and chapters of damaged cars. Taliansich is very, very lucky there. He was not particularly cautious. Troy Stone Street, having been in the earlier incident, goes to the back of the field and works his way past that incident. Jeez. So back live, everyone has pitted. You can see some of those pit stop times still unfolding from other damaged cars. Safety car back being a McLaren, was it not a BMW at some point? Wayne Walker is first. As you can see, a shorter pit stop from him has jumped Jordan Ross for the lead of the race. Scott Mackay also gains a few and goes to third. Ken Latta in fourth. Darren Lobb fifth. Travis Hunt also a slightly shorter stop. I don't know what magic he's looked to pull, but he's jumped up to seventh. Dan Hall to ninth. Luke Allman to 10th.
And Hunt's got the shortest pit stop of the field by the looks of it, at 21.4 seconds, and Wayne Walker 26.4. Now that plays Jordan Ross in second with 33.1, so Ross has definitely got a few seconds more fuel. So when this goes green, Walker is going to have to drive like his life depends on it to get away from Ross to nullify that fuel gap. But that just means hot laps around Mount Panorama, and I'm okay with that, David. I don't know about you.
There are worse things to do on a Thursday. For sure.
Watching
headlights
cruise around now.
Going away to work on the safety car, the McLaren 720S safety car.
Do you reckon they just taped the button down on their wheel for that one, and so they don't have to hold their button in the whole time?
I think we've got an expert in our ears, but people do sort of macros or keybinds or other things for that, don't they? Dan Yeaman says he just puts a blister on his thumb holding the button down on his steering wheel.
I guess everyone has their methods. I went the caveman method of just some simple packing tape would do the trick, but I didn't even think about macros. That's probably a way smarter way to do it. But
so think about this, right? We mentioned Damien Cairns pitting at the end of lap 2 looking for some clean air. So he didn't pit with this safety car. He pitted 3 laps before it came out. He's 11th now. I don't think he's going to be at too much of a tyre of fuel disadvantage to everyone else. But time and time again, we've seen this in V8 Vets with the 2 compulsory pit stop strategy. Anytime there's a likelihood of an early safety car, if you stop before the safety car comes, it will advantage you. If there is no safety car that comes, perhaps you've disadvantaged yourself. But Damien Cairns has made a bet, and it's one that has paid off for him very well in past at places like Long Beach and other racetracks where an early safety car was a high probability.
Absolutely, and to your point, David, Damien Cairns has 3-lap older tyres than most of the rest of the guys around him. I think a shout out David Kirby here. It looks like he might have pitted a bit early too, and he's up 8 positions too. So it looks like, yeah, we got a couple of guys who played that strategy beautifully, and honestly, this safety car, all that's going to do is just keep it all, like it'll simplify it all. The tyres we had to cool off a little bit, and there we go. Yeah, so Damien Cairns lap 3. By the time these guys all came in, it wouldn't really make a difference. David Kirby lap 5 as well. As we get the note from race control, safety car will be in this lap, so we'll be going back racing in just a few minutes' time.
Jamie McKnight also pitted before the safety car came out. Brad Doble accidentally pitted before the safety car came out because he stopped for service instead of taking his drive-through from the jump start. But other than that, basically everyone else pitted during the safety car. Somehow Tim Nichols got a black flag on pit exit.
Oh my goodness, Tim Nicol is having he's not having a night. I should put it that way. We're just hearing he's cleared his black flag, his meatball flag, excuse me, and now he's got a iRacing black flag on pit exit here. I'd imagine that's for speeding potentially. It looks like he's gotten out of there cleanly. Here we go. We'll have a look at. Oh, he's up at 70k an hour at the pit exit there, so that'll do it. That'll earn a slap on the wrist from the stewards.
We should have known when we looked at him head on and didn't see the headlights flashing with the pit lane speed limiter engaged.
That's a very good point. Very good point. That's very unfortunate, but hopefully he can serve that. There we go, and get back around in time, at least to be chasing the field as they go green, as we come down through now to the dipper with that McLaren safety car. Wayne Walker at the lead of the pack here. Ross, Mackay, Ladder and Lobb complete the top 5 as we get ready to go racing on what will be lap 8 at the end of this lap.
So Wayne Walker's got himself the track position. Travis Hunt's got himself a bit of track position. Jordan Ross still in second. We'll need to exercise some patience when we go racing. We haven't reached the critical lap number yet, and almost everyone still has a compulsory pit stop still to do. You would not rule out seeing that McLaren safety car again today. I hope we don't, but you would be a fool to rule it out as a possibility. It accelerates away from Wayne Walker, who'll hold 80 kilometers an hour with the field behind him. 44 supercars on the track, but we might not see Michael Whiting again. There's Travis Hunt just getting a little bit of clear space for himself.
Yeah, we'll have to say you're right, David. I don't think it's the last standard safety car here. With most of the cars still out there now after some pit stops as well. So we'll look at Wayne Walker here. I feel a bit of nervousness when you're leading an angry pack of supercars with the green flag. He'll come through the chase here, still holding them, waiting. Ross is attached to him like a magnet. He wants him to go. He's begging him to go. Still nothing. And here he goes. Good jump from Walker. Coming down into the last turn now. He's actually gotten just a little bit of space on Ross, and Ross as well on Mackay there. So well done, Walker. Caught them sleeping.
I think he's looking at Jordan Ross, and just as Jordan Ross got so close that he had to slow down a little bit, Wayne Walker went. And we go racing again at Mount Panorama for round 2 of RaceKraft V8 Vets, the Skyline 250. Well, the action's been at Griffin's Bend, it's been at Metal Grate. It hasn't yet been at Skyline. Some of the action's even been at Forest's Elbow. There's time and there's laps still. Everyone's completed one at minimum of their compulsory pit stops, with another still to come in this 41-lap race. Wayne Walker keeps a car length or two on Jordan Ross as the single file restart stretches out the field.
Yep, up through the cutting now. Ross keeping him honest there, not letting him get away with anything. But Walker's driving that car beautifully. It's nice and smooth. We're not seeing the tail kick out, so he's managing it well for these tyres that are doing their first proper racing laps. As Ross, speaking of, nice and taily up through Reed and Sulman as we come through Metal Grate. He is pushing his heart out at the moment, right up against the wall as well. We saw him do that on the race start too, so not giving an inch. But Walker just eking that lead ahead. That little lose at Reed and Sulman has cost Ross just a little bit on this safety car restart.
Getting the inside front tyre a little bit in the air through the dipper, one of the steepest parts of the racetrack, and then down to Forest's Elbow. A bit of a slide this time for Wayne Walker, so Jordan Ross 0.4 of a second behind, and we're going to see them sail past 200 kilometres an hour as we go. Both of these guys leaving Scott Mackay in the dust. Maybe he's going to come under some pressure. We've seen Ken Latta make some moves already in this race when he feels like he has to, and he's got the blowtorch to Scott Mackay in third place. Heading into the chase, Latta looks one way and then rolls out of it. He'll sit in fourth place for the moment. Mackay flying across the curbs at the chase.
Yeah, Latta caught a bit of that inside curb at the kink there, which just really unsettled him. So it was a good move to roll out of that, because he probably would have locked a brake if he tried to really go hard at that. So Mackay can take a breath. Wayne Walker and Jordan Ross, I'm just seeing on the timing of swapping spots. So it looks like they're battling it out hard there. But in the background here, there you go. You got Jordan Ross and Walker going by now. Ross still behind Walker at the moment, and Mackay, Latta's still ranging back up again. So it's clear to see Mackay on this restart. Maybe the temps haven't quite come up just yet, but Latta is looking racy. You know, these were our suspects from last race as well, who are really, really racy. As we look back from Walker to Ross coming to turn 2, Ross just right up there, doing well to stick with him with a bit of that dirty air. Now up into the cutting. No move here. You just got to stick with it until you can get across the mountain.
Yeah, exciting view as they navigate between the concrete walls, still heading uphill to the highest part of the racetrack. Incredible amount of elevation difference between the top of the mountain and the bottom of the mountain here. More than there is at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, or almost anywhere else, except the Nürburgring Nordschleife that has its beat by about 5 metres. Scott Mackay was black flagged. Now, I heard a little bit of chatter about passing under safety car, and it's always that sort of awkward thing. There are a handful of damaged cars making their way back to pit lane, but maybe it was for not slowing for yellow flags.
Yeah. I'll be interested to know, because it seems like an odd one, nothing that we could detect, but that is a shame for Mackay. He's running in a great position, and he had a great race last week as well, so he's into the pits now to serve that drive-through penalty, which will bring Ladder and Lob up in third, fourth. But yes, it's a shame. A great battle was brewing there. Oh, we've got someone backwards at the chase. Dean Logsdale in the dirt. Looks like he's... Oh, no, I was going to say looks like he's avoided damage. That front end is banged up in that NZ. So, yeah, wow. The right front looking like it's got some damage too. So he looks like he might have had a pretty big hit here to cause that amount of damage. That looks like a big one. Anytime you go backwards from Conrod into the chase is it's not a good time. So here we go. We've got the replay up now on Logsdale as we're coming through here. Is he going to get a hit here? He's gotten some help. Oh, in the air, all four wheels off the ground, smacking the concrete, the spinning around there. That will be an interesting one for race control to review. It's a bit hard to obviously do the analysis as we go, but looking back now from Logsdale, might have just been a bit of a late move there to the inside, and that's all it is.
Odd speed difference, to be honest, as well. Yeah. Logsdale's very early in the brakes. Oh, it's Troy Stone Street in the wall again. Gee, yeah. Brake lights are on very early, and then he's middle of the road, and Chad Lewis doesn't know which way to go and does drill into the back of him. It then led to more excitement later on for Chad Lewis, as well, as you've got the two Frog Leap juiced. Jump up 20 seconds, I reckon, on Troy Stone Street here. See that he might have had a little bit of contact.
This is dicey. This is dicey. Oh, no. That car will be banged up with that contact.
Rob Crisdale's is inside, a little bit behind, but he's there the whole time, though. I don't know what to tell you about that, other than it's not my job to make a final decision on it.
David, we've said it time and time again when I've been commentating with you. We're just glad we get to yell at pretend race cars. We'll leave the race control stuff to the guys who are the experts, because we certainly are. We just like yelling about pretend race cars, because that one's going to be a hard one to dictate, I reckon, as you're suggesting.
So let's talk about what's in front of us in the here and now. It's Wayne Walker leading the race. Jordan Ross, I think, is as close to all over him as he has been. These two breaking away from the rest of the field, more than 3 seconds clear of Kenneth Latter, who runs in third now. Darren Lobb in fourth after the drive-through penalty for Scott Mackay. It's left a bit of a vacuum between the top two and the rest. Stephen Grumley's missing the front of his car.
There's going to be a fire sale on front bumpers at Bathurst after this one. Get your memorabilia. You can get them signed and everything, because there's certainly a few bumpers that have been left out there. Skyline has bitten another location that we weren't expecting to see. The Skyline 250. Oh! Skyline McPhillamy. Another one being hit in the quarter panel there and spun around. Scott McCune into the back there. He was right up alongside of it. It's another one of those weird ones. Oh, again, David, someone phone race control. Let's pass this one on to them.
wetting my hands, and then I'm putting soap on them, and then I'm making sure I get the back of my hand and between my fingers, and I'm washing my hands of that.
I'm right there with you, as we go back live now. Jordan Ross is basically a silhouette or a shadow of Wayne Walker's car at this point. Those two Mustangs line astern, and with the right angle, you'd think they were just one big long Mustang limo. He is right up on Wayne Walker. Their lap times, though, they've just dropped off a bit, that one. So their best laps are around a 207.1 or 207.2. They're now down nearly into the 208. So I'll be curious, like Walker has the strength where he needs to keep Ross behind. Keep in mind, as we've mentioned a few times now, Bathurst, it's really difficult, if not impossible, to pass over the top, as we've just seen a couple of examples of through key areas along the top of the mountain here. But where it matters, Walker's ekes that gap, and on those straights, Ross just can't get up to him and make that pass. He's doing a really good job at managing this race so far, Walker.
Tim Nicol is going to get a black flag, separate to speeding on pit lane, separate to having a meatball flag. My oh my.
I think, yeah, Tim last week didn't have a great race either, so he has been in the wars these first couple of rounds. I mean, it's still great to go for a race around here at Bathurst, but yeah, he'll be fuming over a couple of the things that have happened to him throughout these first couple of rounds of V8 Vets. As we've now, I believe, got him on the Zoom call there with his 3-screen setup. Good man, I like his style. JRT, by the looks of it, down on the dash there too. So well set up there to take on the mountain.
Yeah, that's dashboard.html behind the wheel. Matt van der Kran's dropping down the timing rapidly, and so too is Travis Hunt by the looks of things. At the chase, it's possible that those two drivers have collided. Jason Spriggs goes up in a 5th. Dan Hall moves up in a 6th. With all of this, van der Kran's back in a 19th, and both of them stay out, but there's a lot of smoke in the air and tyre tracks. Travis Hunt's a long way back behind Matt van der Kran as we go into the braking zone here.
That is a messy old incident. It looks like both have just had their own individual moments, and unfortunately, as van der Kran's trying to collect himself, Hunt's come in there a bit hot as well, as we're on board with Hunt now coming in through here. So you see the lock-up for van der Kran, and I don't think Hunt's actually had a moment there. He's just taken the racing line, and it's just an unfortunate contact. He did have a bit of a lose at the apex there, didn't he, David? Like, he wasn't in full control, but van der Kran did a good job to keep it on the track, but it was just two cars trying to take up a spot made for one in that moment, I think.
Yeah, van der Kran did a good job actually to try to stay on the racetrack there with the lock-up and slide that he had, but what it meant is he was suddenly very slow on the racing line, and Travis Hunt was in there super hot, super committed. Some would say one of the most committed corners in Australian motorsport. Some might say, and the two of them then made awkward contact that spun Matt van der Kran out and had him blocking the way then of Travis Hunt, and both of them regret that, I'm sure, and it's cost them a little bit of time. It doesn't seem to have done too much damage to either of them. It's a super busy night for race control because Chad Lewis now gets a black flag for his role in some of the contact that we've seen with Logsdale. Will not be the last that we hear from race control in this race, though, I think. It continues to unfold with Wayne Walker holding the race lead from Jordan Ross, but there is a 7-second difference in pit stop time between them underneath the safety car. You would think that Jordan Ross is carrying 7 seconds more of fuel and will very easily jump Wayne Walker whenever the second round of pit stops comes around.
Yeah, we definitely need to see the afterburners on here for Walker, but the issue is Ross comes factory equipped with afterburners. We've seen that in last season and in the first round of this season 23. He is rapid, and do you think at the moment the strategy here is he could almost be saving a bit of fuel? You could easily go for a move, but he knows he's got that fuel advantage. They're running away from third place. Right now, you're better off trying to save a bit of fuel and increase your advantage even more without doing anything silly. You don't want to take each other out. That's not what we're here for. So, but Walker's keeping him honest at the moment. They're still running just in the 7s, so pretty consistent lap times, high 7s, low 8s at the moment. As they come down into the S's here, God, I love that shot. Sorry, it's just this track's something. I'm almost too busy watching these guys race instead of commentate at the moment. I'm not. I need to give myself a second. But we come down into the Forest Elbow here, and now back onto Conrod Straight. Ross is pretty close. Pretty close here. Lap 14 now, as we're heading down towards lap 15. It'll be curious to see how close he gets here. Probably a bit too far, hey David? He'll just stick it behind again.
Yeah, Jordan Ross, I think, is a clever enough driver with all of this involved to know the pit stop difference between himself and Wayne Walker, that Wayne Walker has this track position from a much shorter pit stop time. Wayne Walker will need to pit before Jordan Ross. Wayne Walker will eventually clear the path for Jordan Ross, and the both of them are continuing to put time into the rest of the field. Ken Ladder's not catching them. Darren Lobb's not catching them. These two are running super close together, and then Dan Hall in 5th place, 10 seconds behind Wayne Walker and Jordan Ross. So if a safety car happens now, Jordan Ross goes back to the race lead because he'll need a shorter stop than everyone else. If we stay green, everyone else is going to have to pit before Jordan Ross, and the seas will part for him. So Jordan Ross is in a primo position right now, and that's just afforded to him by the basis of his pace in qualifying and in that opening stint of the race before the safety car.
And sorry to cut in there, David. Just looking at these stop times here as well, Ladder and Lobb both did around a 33-second stop. So right now they have about sort of 6.5 seconds of fuel on Walker as well. So if we go green here for a while and these pit stops happen under green, there's definitely a chance here that Walker could lose out on a couple, not just one position, but a couple out of this. So worth keeping half an eye on as we continue through here. But as you mentioned, Walker and Ross together are no pun intended, walking away from 3rd and 4th and leaving them behind a bit. So we're still with that pit stop happening around lap 6. We're definitely still a ways away from that second stop if you're just running the tank down. But curious to see here, because Lobb and Ladder seem to be doing the same thing as Walker and Ross, which is just line astern, try to work their way up, use that draft nicely. What's the point of battling? You're just going to draw each other into other packs, right? So very smart racing from the top 4 at the moment.
So let's look outside of the top 4. Dan Hall in 5th place, started 18th on the grid, leads the sort of 3rd pack at the moment. This is that pack with Jason Spriggs, Luke Allman, Damien Cairns, David Kirby, and Justin McLean. We've already previously sort of highlighted the strategy of Damien Cairns and David Kirby, but everyone here probably didn't think they were going to be battling for a top 5 this early in the race when you look at where they all started on the grid. 18th, 9th, 17th, 16th, etc., etc.
Yeah, you're exactly right, David. Like, it's, we're seeing some huge numbers here, like Justin McLean in 10th, plus 16 after all that carnage working through, and he is part of this pack here. So really, it's going to come down to pace, because we've just heard in our ear, and quite rightly, the fuel strategy isn't too different between most of these guys. Like, most of them have taken on about that 33-second mark, like the front runners. So it's just going to come down to cold, hard ability to battle and outpace your opponent on track.
Damien Cairns had a little look at Luke Allman into turn 2 there, as Allman was a little slow, a little offline. Perhaps a little bit of pressure building through here. David Kirby had a great view of it. That's who we ride on board with at the moment. Heading up over the top of the hill. Reed Park, Metal Great, Sulman Park, Philamy Park over just a little crest here that then immediately plateaus at Brock's skyline. No, not yours, Peter's.
I have signed my name on that one. I think it's been painted over now after the graffiti, unfortunately, but I did sign my name there to Peter. I would never claim it to be mine. Peter Brock's too much of a legend, although I'm not sure if everyone knows, I am named after Peter Brock, because my dad's a motorsport fan and my mum couldn't choose a name. So there you go. That's your fun fact for the night.
Mick Schumacher is named after Mick Doohan.
There you go. Maybe when he was in Formula 1 it wasn't his calling. He should have gone for bikes after all.
Very, very interesting. On board with 10th place. Clean at the moment. Still seeing Damien Cairns sniffing around and an opportunity against Luke Allman. Cairns thinks he might have a little bit more speed.
Yeah, you'd think although he's in and among the right guys that he qualified around as well. So this battle pack it's not just guys who have worked their way up, but they all qualified in and around each other. Excuse me. So the pace is going to be there and pretty similar. And in fact, Damien Cairns does have a better faster lap than Luke Allman in front of him as well. Looking very racy at the moment, very confident after that first strategy decision worked out. As we come flying down Mountain Straight now, and he's got a bit of draft here behind the Camaro, so Allman's defending a little bit, just trying to keep him honest there. Make sure he knows I see you in my mirror, I'm looking at you, but nothing to be done there, so we're going to go around again, and you can see 5th and 6th, so Hall and Spriggs are just eking away here from this Allman, Cairns and Kirby battle pack.
So I was having a look at who's been through pit lane how many times. We've got the last pit stops up. There's a few that have been through twice. There's some that have been through 3 times, like Tim Nicol. There's Brad Doble, who's been in the lane for 2 minutes now. But the highest running driver who's been through pit lane twice is Scott Mackay, once for his pit stop and once for his drive-through. He was running in 3rd place at one point in time. Bruce Tannock's also been twice through the lane. I think once was for repairs and then again with the safety car. It's a similar story for Tim Nicol, but where Scott Mackay's placed at the moment, he might be able to make quite a few passes. We know he had a podium running sort of pace. The drive-through penalties put him here in 29th. Oh, Mike Taliantzis just a little bit up the road. Similar, having effectively, inadvertently drive-through penaltied himself at Forest Elbow. Yeah,
that's exactly right. So these guys now, they'll start. We've got someone off in the grass there as well. They'll start pulling their way through. It looks like he's just run.
Stacey Boyd?
Stacey Boyd's just run through there. Doesn't look like any damage, so might have just been locked up and gone through. Get a slowdown. So Mackay's going to come alongside Boyd now and try to get the move done here at turn 1 and dispense someone else. But +7, maybe, or keep it safe here, guys. Maybe +6 to Stacey Boyd now. So a good effort there as well from Stacey after I think what was a bit of a difficult race last week as well. As Mark Poynton's now in the pits too.
Yeah, we believe with 24 laps to go that theoretically we've crossed the critical lap number, that if you stop now, you are going to the end. So could be a gamble on another safety car. If you stop now and one comes out, you may look a little bit the hero. But if we don't get one, it's a long run on the tyres and a lot of track position that you've potentially just gone and costed yourself.
Yep, you're exactly right. It is a gamble, and the gamble's paid off once, but you know what they say, it can be...
It's a drive-through for Poynton.
And it's a drive-through for Poynton, thank you, mate. So that is not a pitch strategy thing. We'll keep that in mind for a bit later on. So now we've got our eyes on Stephen Kennedy in that M1 Racing Mustang as he comes through and out of Forest Elbow. So just a little... Sorry, David, go. Yep.
Poynton would have been... underneath the tree with Troy Stone Street, I think. Is that right?
Okay, so involved in that bingle earlier on in the race. So he's...
Apparently that was his teammate, Crisdale. So I'm losing track of exactly what all these drive-through penalties are for. That's what race control is for. Normally, this is an abnormal amount of penalties in V8 Vets, but we had an abnormal amount of incidents and everything that took place in the opening couple of laps that one of them we could have sworn was going to lead to a safety car, and then another that eventually did. Damien Cairns, well, he gambled and won on one safety car. I think he's gambling on another. This, from Cairns, is his second stop to get him to the end.
Look, he's a brave man, but you know what? He was a brave man the first time and it paid off well. So let's hope he's not the good luck charm for himself, but the bad luck charm for the rest of the field as he plummets down with that pit stop. But this will cleanse him. And look, this is about half race distance now. We're very close. So yes, it's a long stint on the tyres, but they can do it. And we're just going to have to wait and see what happens in terms of a safety car and how that strategy pans out. But he does pull himself out of that battle pack. So if he can find some clear space on the track, he can really utilise those tyres and potentially get some track position, provided there is no safety car. So it sounds like it's a second drive-through penalty for Mark Poynton. So another guy in the wars tonight. Really not having any luck out there. There we go. That's, race control's really not happy with him for something. We're not quite sure just yet. But we haven't seen a lot of Mark tonight. So clearly there's something's gone on. We've got a replay here. This is
Matt Vanderkraan.
Matt Vanderkraan.
Hold tight. David Kirby's having some technical issues, but he's back, so that's what we've been in search of, what was happening inside of the top 10. Just approaching shortly the halfway point of this race, which might be a tempting time to make your second pit stop if you feel you're a little stuck in the traffic. So no change in that top four. Dan Hall and Jason Spriggs getting a little clear of the rest of the drivers in that fifth place pack, and we saw Damien Cairns pit from in that pack. You look a little bit further back here. Stephen Varga in 15th, ahead of Chris Miller, Stephen Banks, a recovering Matt Vanderkraan, Christian Smart in 19th.
Yeah, it's these guys I reckon you talked about being stuck in a battle pack, and whether you pit at this sort of halfway point, as you know, you come across the mountain here, that really is the halfway point around the track as you kind of come through to Forest Elbow. That is half race distance. So the thought will be creeping into these guys' minds. You know, we're on board with Christian Smart here. Can he pull a blinder and pit in, find a gap in the traffic, get back out and use those fresh tyres to his advantage? He was seeing 4 or 5 odd cars in front of me. I would be a bit nervous about how I'm going to make it past all of them with about 21 laps to go now as well. So we're on board with Christian here as he comes through, which is always a cool view at Bathurst because you can just see how hard the drivers are working. And although it's in a simulator, it's hard work, and you get your breath down Conrod Straight, but while your body might rest, your mind is still thinking about things, and you're trying to determine, can you get close enough to this guy in front of you? Can you make a move? Do you pit? Then you're thinking about you setting up now through the kinky. You've got to go out nice and wide, throw it in, not get too much curb, hit the brakes, not hit the guy in front of you. Bit of a lock up there as well. Oh. Big lock up there. So that made it easy for Christian. Vanderkraan again.
Yeah, he's struggling with the brakes, obviously, if that's happened a couple of times, and he's going to pit now, whether he's having a drama of some kind or not. And it looks like he doesn't want to stop and turn in the pit entry. I think he's having some problems of some kind Matt van der Kraan. You're talking about the hard work of the drivers, so maybe at some point we'll have another look at the Dino Dyno and what his heart rate's doing now. We've been green flag racing for a while. That could even be steering problem. He doesn't want to, 2 times the car doesn't want to turn left here. So he gets the downshifts and locks and understeers, but the wheel angle was there, but the grip wasn't. And and then he goes to pit, and it looks like he has the same issue again. Like the car doesn't want to turn left, like he's got an incredible amount of understeer in it, like he's got no feeling and precision for what the front tyres are doing. I think he's lost his brake pressure.
Yeah, there was a little puff of smoke when we were on board there with Christian Smart, but that seemed like a lot less of a locked brake than what we saw in that little dust-up with Travis Hunt, and he went way further off the track. So, yeah, I'm with you there, David. This seems like there's something either not right with the setup of that car or not right with the setup at home at the moment, and Matt van der Kraan is just battling through it right now, trying to make it to the end of this thing.
It's almost like when you have like a long brake pedal and the car just runs on in the braking zone and tries you're not stopping it how you'd like, and then you're carrying just a little bit too much speed. You still turn in for the apex, but you understeer and you overshoot it, is what it looked like for van der Kraan in a way. So we knew Scott Mackay was going to try to come back through the field. Here at the chase, he's trying to muscle his way and elbow his way through on Wayne Sanderson, it is by the looks of things. Actually yielding. Darren Crosby carrying a bit of damage. He's trying to keep Robert Crisdale behind, and Scott Mackay goes through to 24th position as Luke Allman pits. We're past the halfway point of the race, and I am quite confident with an uncapped 100% fuel tank that you could stop now and get to the end of this race. It's all of the other things around it that make it potentially an inadvisable strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think making this, it's going to hurt a little bit here because most of these guys did pit on lap 6, particularly now we've seen, the likes of Damien Cairns, our early pitter, pit and replace his tyres. So these guys, the tyres are going to be screaming at them a little bit, but the further they can get into this race and the lower that fuel tank can get, the better off they're going to be when it comes to actually pitting and putting on those fresh boots and the run to the finish when they really want to be making those moves. As we look at Michael Taliancic here, back up into 19th after just in front of Jamie McKnight and behind Dean Flavel after that spin. That's a very good effort from Michael. I mean, we know he's no stranger to the supercar and the various iterations of the supercar on iRacing, but he's showing his talent here.
Press the correct button, producer. Yes, give us the Dino Dyno. Well, he's got Michael Taliancic breathing down his neck, putting some pressure on him, but I've certainly seen that number be way higher. It goes to what you were saying, watching some of the other onboard from Skyline down towards Forest Elbow, that it's a lot of pressure on your precision, a lot of pressure on your mental, but maybe physically not a whole lot of pressure. His brain might be working harder than his heart is right now, as his brain tells him to let a very quick Mike Taliancic go.
That's it. And look, racing is as much about the physical and actually wrestling these things around the mountain for a couple of hours as it is about the mental and trying to think about your moves and what you do next and when. So smart decision there from Dean, and looking at his Dino Dyno, he didn't seem overly stressed about that move happening. He just knew what was happening, let it happen. Taliancic will race off into the distance, and now he gets to look in his mirror at James McKnight, who's also looking very racy in that Fishy Motorsports car.
But hopefully, with 250 kilometres of racing and that heart rate in the work zone, by the end of it, he'll earned himself a Chubby Buns Burgers or some other snack. My local KFC was closed for refurbishment and reopened today. Hallelujah.
Oh, I heard about that on the news, David. Local KFC gets sold out of nuggets within half an hour of opening. Was that you?
potentially. Okay, it's been a tough night for Quantum Racing, for Tim Nicol and for Stephen Varga. And for Tim Nicol,
Oh,
man, already a bit of tyre smoke in the air, but then Tim Nicol's had some rear locking over Skyline. He's not brought it back. He's parked off of the chase. And we're going to go safety car. For the second time, there were a few drivers that had banked on this and a few that were maybe hoping it didn't happen. Wayne Walker and Jordan Ross go past, and they're surely going to immediately dive for the pit lane. Jordan Ross are expecting to see pick up a shorter pit stop and jump back to the race lead. But where can some of those other drivers like Bruce Tannock, Damien Cairns re-emerge after this second safety car?
yeah, wow, talk about the racing gods favouring you tonight. Damien Cairns has just played the strategy game, and be curious to see where he comes out here, but also very curious to see where Wayne Walker comes out. We commented on the fact that Jordan Ross, Ladder and Lob all have, shorter pit stops to do than Walker. So where will Walker shake out in this? But a safety car to bring the field back together with the sort of 16 laps to go here. Oh boy, it's going to be on for young and old. Damien Cairns comes through the kick here into the chase, as we will soon find out where he skips up to. Jordan Ross out of pit lane there by a country mile, just as we suspected.
No surprise. The real surprise is Darren Lobb jumping to second place. Ken Ladder comes out in third. Wayne Walker now goes back to fourth place. Dan Hall's coming out in fifth. But Damien Cairns is making a third stop.
That doesn't make sense.
No, he hasn't. No, he's stayed out.
Okay.
He's gone to 12th. I think he was 11th actually before the safety, before he made his pit stop, his second pit stop. So he's back into 12th. He'll not be too punished by this. Another race off of pit lane now underneath the safety car for the rest of the drivers. Long stops under safety car here, going no surprises to Wayne Walker, Travis Hunt and Luke Allman.
Yeah, look, Wayne Walker, I mean, realistically, this is probably the situation he needed. Like, we knew he was going to lose some spots, but this is good because even though he had that longer stop, and yes, he's lost some track position and lost that lead, he's still right up there with that top four, or that rather the podium in touch there. So we've seen he has got some excellent pace. Like he's got, by the looks of it, the second fastest lap on track by a number of tenths as well. And he and Ross out front were pumping in some pretty quick laps all the way through that stint. So he's got pace, but as we've talked about all night, passing isn't easy around here, and we've seen a number of incidents come from trying to throw a pass somewhere. So now we look back at the Dino Dyno. That heart rate, it's still up pretty high considering we're under safety car, but I guess we're all still racing to the back of the safety car line as well. So just over 1,000 calories burnt for old Dean there, which is a fair old effort with still 15 odd laps to go here.
I disconnected from the Zoom. Sorry, friends.
Boos and disappointment were heard all round.
It's still plenty colourful enough if you look, though. The JRT timing screen for Dan Hall, David Kirby, whatever the lighting situation he's got going on.
Nothing wrong with a bit of purple in your sim. I actually quite like that. It sets the mood nicely for an afternoon race.
Ken Ladder's got an orange beach towel for a backrest.
Hey, that must keep the sim rig. I reckon that keeps the sim rig nice and clean because, as I'm sure you know, David, being a sim racer and real life racer yourself, it's pretty sweaty work. So you put the towel down and you're halfway to keeping your sim rig nice and clean and useful for years to come.
Travis Hunt had a couple people in the background of his shot just before we went racing, so He's
Spectators.
yeah, he had some backseat drivers.
I don't know whether some people like that, others don't. Around Bathurst, it's pretty clear where you've got to go. There are two big walls either side of you most of the track that go this way. So as we see now, the wave rounds are being given, so that means we should be fairly close to green flag racing again here. Once the field's cleared of those wave rounds, we'll be able to go racing with everyone on the lap they should be on. So yeah, I think we're in for a pretty good end here, David. Hopefully, I mean, we say hopefully no more safety cars, but Bathurst always seems to deliver. But we've got four very fast guys up the front there, and Ross, Lobladder and Walker. And then we saw a great battle pack developing there, even though Dan Hall in fifth was a bit behind that top four. It was a great battle pack with Hall, Spriggs, Kirby, McLean, and then a couple of those other guys as well, the likes of, Cairns, Kennedy, Thomas and Latham. So a lot of pace up and down the field. Some strategy has really brought some of those guys up higher, and it's also to play for. There are these guys here who are going to want top 10s, top 5s, particularly getting a result like that at Bathurst is a real sort of notch for these guys at the supercar.
Here's Chad Lewis. This is his fourth visit to Bathurst's pit lane. Potentially his fourth set of tyres. Should be safety car in this lap. I've not heard it directly from race control yet, but it seems like Tim Nichols towed, cars have been waved around. Should be. And that would have us with 16 laps remaining for Mount Panorama for RaceKraft V8 Vets Round 2, the Skyline 250.
Yeah, but I know it doesn't sound like much in terms of the number. In terms of the number of laps. But around this joint, 16 laps to go. It's a lot of racing still left at just over 2 minutes a lap. So there's still a lot to play out here. But we're fueled. We've got tyres to the end. So it's just an all-out race between these concrete walls, this concrete canyon, as it's been referred to get us to the end of this one.
You notice that on the supercar, the tail lights for the Ford Mustang are the Australian and European spec, not the North American spec, because the brake lights are the 2 rather than 3. Okay, 3 vertical red bars with the tail lights being the vertical 2. Because the American ones don't have indicators.
Of course they don't. Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, I don't know nearly as much as what you do, but that is an excellent point. Confused the heck out of me when I was in America a couple of years ago and there was no indicators on car, just the brake light flashing.
Makes no sense, but that's how they do. What this generation of Ford Mustangs got is, instead of the outer of the 3 being orange and flashing, the 3 vertical things do a sequential inside to outside thingamabob in this generation Ford Mustang. Jordan Ross leads the way. He's doing 78 kilometers an hour. The safety car doing much quicker as it pulls away from the field. We get ready to go racing once again. The round 1 winner and championship leader, through clever strategy decisions at the first safety car, now at the second safety car, goes back to the race lead ahead of Darren Lobb in second, Ken Latter in third. Wayne Walker's back to 4th place with Dan Hall in 5th. Still 80 k's an hour. It looks like an absolute crawl when you're used to seeing them do 300 kilometers an hour. Safety car's in pit lane now, so Jordan Ross can pick and choose when he's going to send us racing again. Everyone behind him's on the same age of tyres. Everyone should be fueled to get to the end. Darren Lobb's riding the brakes, and that actually lets him go with Jordan Ross quite convincingly. We're racing again. The second restart, our third green flag phase of RaceKraft V8 Vets. And Jordan Ross right now is in the box seat. We're about to see Darren Lobb show us something that we haven't seen in the first half of this race.
Yeah, Lobbs, we saw. Oh, geez, Ross not getting the cleanest run off turn one there to get himself up there and into turn two, but he's made some distance on Lobb. So I guess if it works, don't bag it there. But Lobb, yeah, up in second place, and now fighting for third here. Fourth.
Dan
Sorry
Hall,
about that.
So down the inside
Hall,
of Wayne Walker, takes fourth place away.
which is surprising because Walker had been so quick, but Dan Hall taking advantage of a slow restart for Walker there by the looks, and up into fourth. Well done. That's opportunistic, but really, really well done there by Hall.
Through the cutting, they're far more closely packed in the midfield than they are at the race lead, where Jordan Ross, Darren Lobb and Ken Latta are streaking away. Past all the fans at the top of the mountain once again, change of direction at McPhillamy Park. Catch the slide, catch a bit of the curb, and then point yourself over the crest and into oblivion at Skyline. Justin McLean is one of the biggest gainers in this pack, having started 26th on the road, now running 8th, just in behind David Kirby. The 9.5 cars. And don't Nicolas Kona the outside wall on the exit of Forest Elbow.
And shout out to Jason Spriggs here. First one race in season 19, round 2. So this is season 23 now. So welcome back to the fold, Jason. It's good to have you here, mate, as we come through the kink here. Man, I tell you what, Walker is looking racy on Hall. He wants to get that position back. He feels hard done by. He was leading the race, but Hall up 14. Again, a great effort, similar to Justin McLean there too. But Hall holding his own out there in fourth place, and keeping the, what I can say is, angry pack behind him for the time being.
Classic V8 supercars. Jordan Ross sets the fastest lap of the race on a safety car restart lap, starting with the perfect tyre prep of stone cold from dawdling at 80 kilometers an hour before the heat build up continues and the tyres begin to slide and drop away. Jordan Ross, 206.6. Look at the lap, look at the sectors, it's awesome.
It is. They're putting in their best times so far. Like, we haven't been in the sixes all race until now. Not to mention, Ross was rally crossing it on turn 1 of that lap, and now he's put in the fastest lap. And, you know, Lobb and Latta behind him are a couple of tenths behind in terms of pace on that lap. So, yeah, like, they were listening to us, David. They heard no more pit stops. You got fresh tyres, fuel to the end. Boot it. Give it some jandle, as Scott McLaughlin would say. I won't say the other part. This is a family-friendly stream. But now we've got Hall. Hall is using all the track and then some, wide through McPhillamy now onto Skyline. As you look back here, this is looking a bit icy. Yep, okay, good. Keep it clean down here. We're on board with Lathan now coming through the S's, who looked like he might have wanted to make a move, but went through single line through here and will carry down through the dipper towards the elbow.
Got to pluck it in first before you give it some jandle. Order of operations incredibly important. John Lathan with that super late apex that he's going for. As Travis Hunt has been exposed a little bit by the second safety car, his teammate Jeff Thomas has gained significantly from it and is now up into 10th. This is Jeff Thomas's perspective forward and perspective backwards in the big picture and the little picture. Oh, drama's up front here. Hello, Wayne Walker's losing more positions. He's lost out to Jason Spriggs. He's lost out to David Kirby. He's losing out to Justin McLean, and he's got damage and he's heading for pit lane. What has happened for Walker earlier on through all of this?
Wow, this is big. Walker was potentially gone for a podium here and was fighting for the win just a few laps ago, and now he's in the pits, seemingly with some damage. So we've heard there's no black flag, there's no penalties. We're going to have a replay now. So this is looking at Walker from Jason Spriggs. So we're coming down Conrod here. Everything's looking good. He's slowed up incredibly and put Spriggs on the dirt, basically. He was that surprised by it. So now we come through the kink here. Wow, there's no explanation here. He's just slowed down. I can't think of why that would be.
It's like...
Oh, damage!
He's hit something earlier on.
He might have tagged the
right
inside
Dan Hall. Before elbow, he hits the apex.
Oh.
He's not steering out. It's become unstable past about 250 k's an hour, and he's done damage to it right here. He's like, oh, hang on, and he has to get out of it a little bit.
Such a shame for Walker, and such an easy thing to do. That wall just juts out. You just have to get an inch too close, and that's all. So, oh, it'll be a night of what could have been for him. But here we look at it from the outside in a bit of slow-mo. We just see the car. It's so hard to see. Even on board, it was hard to notice. But you can definitely, the damage is unmistakable. And it's brought him into the pit lane and out of that battle for the top 5.
He's back out at last driver on the lead lap. 44 started this race, and he's 40th now. The retirements are Tim Nicol, Brad Doble, and Michael Whiting. Dean Logsdale is out there, but 2 or 3 laps down. He's Mike Taliancic fighting his way through the field with Travis Hunt. Matt Vanderkran also going to have a dip. The final corner, not a place we've seen a whole lot of overtaking today.
No, and usually a place you would expect to see overtaking. So we've seen a lot of unconventional tries of overtakes tonight, but today Vanderkran shows us how it's done in a textbook Bathurst pass. Although not getting a great run out of there. I think that's Flavel behind him, is it? Who's ranging up on him. We'll see here. Vanderkran's playing the middle of the road here, which is kind of the racing line, but it looks like it's all going to be line astern here. In the background, though, we've got a bit of drama here in 15, excuse me, Luke Allman being, looks like pushed off the track a little bit there, well, off the line.
So, Jeff Thomas lost a bunch of positions. David Nash, I think, has passed him. Damien Cairns, I think, has passed him. So Jeff Thomas was in 10th, and now is
12th.
Yeah. So there's John Latham, who was in 11th. Up the inside at Jeff Thomas. Okay. Gets down the inside, but then overcooks it a little bit, does not turn into the corner. Escorts Jeff Thomas a little bit wide. A few other cars come through, like Damien Cairns, like David Nash.
Yep, you'll have Nash will be going, thank you very much, and Cairns will be going, thank you very much. And Cairns, this strategy, he's now +7, so he's avoiding the carnage, he's keeping it clean, and he's doing very well. Top 10 now in this RaceKraft V8 Veterans Thursday night race. This is a gaggle if I've ever seen one, David. There's plenty of cars that are close enough to be nearly throwing moves here, but we'll watch now from 12th and 13th. Jeff Thomas, who was sort of the bereaved in that one, or aggrieved rather, and he'll come through here just a little bit twitchy, but you usually see that out of turn 2, into the cutting, no threat of anything, but he'll be trying to get back into a rhythm now after that incident and just find his groove and try catch back up and grab that top 10 back.
In the old generation of these cars, Chris Miller was a driver we so often spoke about being in contention for top fives in the podium, and maybe less so in the Gen 3 era. Suddenly, we're going to talk about him again because he's ranging up on Jeff Thomas, putting some pressure on, gaining many positions throughout this race.
Yeah, that's it. Nash looking to grab a few more. And just on the topic of positions gained, you've kind of got Christian Smart. He's I think at the very back of this pack, and he's up 24 positions as well. So we've had some big movers, and still some of these big movers looking to, they're fighting hard for that Chubby Buddy Burgers driver of the day, aren't they? We've got a few people, as John Latham now gets a points penalty for contact with the number 43 of Jeff Thomas. So we'll see what that looks like after the race once the points come out. But definitely a penalty there, probably well deserved as we saw. Here's Latham on screen as well.
Oh, Van der Brand, more braking issues at the chase. He's going to lose out to Stephen Varga and Travis Hunt, and even Dino's Dino, Dean Flavel, moves ahead of him. Not easy sailing just yet for Travis Hunt past the Motor Museum.
Shame for Van der Kraan. That's obviously, I mean, that we had someone in chat, I think it was Sean, mentioned that it could be a setup issue. Potentially the master cylinders on the car, requires a lot of effort, a fair bit of brake pressure, and particularly into these heavy braking zones, very easy to underbrake. And Van der Kraan, whether it's setup and tech or a bit of both, obviously there's something not quite right in that car for this race at Bathurst, and he's been doing well to deal with it and not throw it off the track. We've got a replay up on screen now of that one. He's thrown it in on Tannic. Excuse me, sorry. We've got Stone Street has gone down the inside of Tannic, which I think that was on a lapped car, Tannic, and has spun him around in the chase. Oh boy, Stone Street, again, has not had an excellent night tonight.
It's for position between them, I'm pretty sure here. Troy Stone Street and Bruce Tannic. It's 10 laps to go, and it seems like we're going to be treated to 10 laps of action, most likely. The way that it's still playing out. Some really quick drivers buried deep in the field. Wayne Walker, he's been through the pit lane 3 times and now he's picked up damage and he's been on the radio. So Gary Buckland locks up the rears going into the cutting. There's no good place to be when you're in that situation, but he's moving just as Wayne Walker arrives, and would have thought there was a gap.
Mackay's off. Live pitches, back to live pitches. Mackay is off the track, and he had been making a charge back through after that penalty earlier on in the race. So he's now down in what looks to be 36th. Wow, and I think he was up as high as 26th or 25th at last check, so he has fallen through the pack after that incident. Mackay, he's making a move. He's trying to go around the outside. He's on the dirt. Oh, and he's gone off into the sand there. So he's tried to go around the outside of, I think it was Crisdale, and the space is there, but it closes up, and to avoid hitting Crisdale, Mackay throws himself on the onto the kitty litter there just to avoid any contact, but unfortunately that's meant he has just plummeted down the order.
Incredible amount of dust and gravel, and you could actually see it deposit on the racetrack in real time here, in chunks, as he came back onto the racetrack there, having lost out. Jordan Roster's race lead to 2.5 seconds now, so just over the last few laps, gently pulling away from Darren Lobb, who still has Ken Latta in close company. Troy Stone Street picks up a drive-through penalty for the incident that we saw earlier on. This is second and third. Feels like Latter is really putting pressure to Darren Lobb right now.
And when I tell you, they have literally had the exact same best time in the exact same last lap. Like, these two are evenly matched around Mount Panorama tonight, and they are fighting it out for sheepstakes. But you're right now Ladder looks like he's got the better car. He's searching, he's looking, he's got confidence underneath him in trying to make this move on Lobb, but Lobb keeping it in second place, and I believe at the pit stops Lobb jumped Ladder as well with some strategy. So these blokes have been together all night long, and they're still trying to sort it out. As we look back now to Damien Cairns on Stephen Kennedy, so Cairns still making his way up through the pack, making moves, +8 now on the night. That strategy working out for him, even on those slightly older tyres. He's still making them work. Well done.
Yeah, a few other spots moving around inside of the top 10 if you had your eyes on the timing column. Like, I think John Latham might have lost one just in the back of picture here. Chris Miller, you can see with Jeff Thomas. Oh, yeah. How often does that end poorly, side by side, heading in towards the cutting? Someone's ended up high and in the marbles, out of the wall, thank goodness, but there's no grip when you're offline in those places, the way that the marbles place out. It might have been Stephen Banks.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that didn't end in an incident, because usually at the cutting there, when you're out in the marbles, you're out in the wall. So very well controlled there by Stephen Banks to hold on to that and make sure that it didn't end up in that outer wall, because that would have been messy for all involved behind him. And Taliancic is actually right behind him. I'm sure wouldn't have wanted to be involved with that. So we've got a replay here now. So we're looking at Chris Miller here, but that's Jeff Thomas up ahead trying to make a move there, I think, on John Latham.
Yeah, a bit of form between those two here.
And he wants it, and he's actually, Thomas in the wall. So Thomas is in the wall there, trying to go around the outside of the 666 there of Chris Miller. Keeps on going, and in the background you've also got a few of Stephen Banks having his own moments. So there was plenty going on in the cutting in that pass.
Here's Mike Taliancic with a move down the inside of the chase on Stephen Banks. And Taliancic has it done. His teammate from Synergy Sim Racing leads. Taliancic paid an incredible penalty for waiting on the whole field after having a bad gear shift and spinning out of Forrest's elbow early in this race.
He's done very well. Like, although that shows down 3 from qualified, we've got to remember he was down in basically 42nd position after that spin. So it's been a great comeback drive. I talked about grit last week, and he has plenty of it. Dan Hall, my goodness, hold on to it, mate. Coming out of turn 2, he's right up over the curb there. We talked about these curbs these cars, riding curbs, but probably not that much at turn 2. That can get a bit dicey, but he's still holding on to that 4th place. Spriggs and Kirby behind him. It's been a great night for Hall. He's picked up a heap of positions along the way, and he's holding his own up there in 4th.
Got a couple of spare wheels on the wall there. We're going full wheel for supercars. No GT or Formula. Plenty of wheel work, plenty of gear shifts where I think he's using paddles. We've got a drama for Chad Lewis. He's going to get going from turn 2.
It's rare you sneak out of one of those ones without too much damage.
It's crabbing.
It looks like it might be crabbing here. Okay, we've got a replay here. So Chad Lewis, he goes into the corner. A little bit awkward there. It looks like he's been helped. And Matty Parker is it behind him there, who's gotten into him. They've both ended up in the wall. Bit of an awkward one, this. We'll see here. So Matty's going to the inside. The door looked open, snuck it up there, and just the space closed up. That's an unfortunate one with both those guys in the wall, and Parker missing a bumper. Oh no, came back. Excuse me. Whoa.
Weird how that happens.
That was Wayne Walker having a monumental trying to avoid that incident. Imagine that for a Thursday night surprise. You come flying around the corner and howdy, you're side by side with someone and there to go 3 wide with a crashed car.
Darren Crosby and Jamie McKnight are off at the final corner. So much unfolding here at Mount Panorama. Eventually we'll get back to live pictures. So someone's been off and had a slowdown there. Oh, gosh, it goes back even further. Oh, Jeff Thomas. So Chris Miller down the inside, some overlap. Jeff Thomas that he escorts out wide. Thomas is now going to have a slowdown penalty from that, and he's got dirty tyres and there's all sorts of gravel there. Meanwhile, his teammate Travis Hunt is off. Okay, so both of them are slow. Heading down the inside. Darren Crosby in the M1 car is the one to watch after this. Oh, 3 of them turned around.
Messy. That's the word I can think of. That was just, well, that's the marble and sand physics working up a treat for iRacing. They've done a great job there, and that's what caused that initial issue. And we've now got Tannic.
Third safety car of RaceKraft V8 Vets tonight because Bruce Tannic has no engine. Is it his own downshifts there, or he's got Scott Mackay just behind? Now that's
all by himself.
Not how the downshifts are meant to work.
Well, this one has popped off with 5-6 laps to go. Hey.
So, 6 laps to go. Count on your fingers. We're going green at the end of this lap. Okay, so this will be a short safety car.
Love to hear it. Compress the field and let them race it out. But that was a hectic lap there. You know, keep in mind for the viewers, I know we were in replays a lot, but most of those replays we looked at happened within a 1 to 1.5 lap period there. That was a lot of incidents, and it's just, you know, they talk about it a lot during the Bathurst 1000, but this track is hard, and that's starting now. You're starting to see towards the end of this 250-kilometre race. It's been a long race. The fatigue starts to set in, particularly mentally, where your braking markers are and racing hard, and these sorts of incidents happen. So great to see the short SC procedure. We're going to get to go racing for 5 laps, which is excellent. But the field's going to be compressed, and it's all going to be to play for at the end of this lap.
So very little reason for anyone to stop now unless you're way down the order and have another set of tyres. Chad Lewis, Matty Parker, Brad Doble, mainly damaged cars, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
Not many have had much opportunity.
So pretty much everyone's on a similar set of tyres. Damien Cairns is the outlier with 17-lap-old tyres, but as we saw, that doesn't seem to be stopping him from moving up the field with that pass on Stephen Kennedy. So otherwise, just about everyone else in the top 20, 25 cars are all in sort of like 12 to 14-lap-old tyres. So it's everyone's equal. They've got the fuel on board. It's just going to be who can tame these sort of cooled-off, worn tyres off this restart.
This is the point in a race like this where you look at the top 10 and realise maybe there's a name you haven't said a whole lot of. And for me, I think that's Jason Spriggs.
Completely agree, David. I mean, we were just talking about how this, I believe, is now his second ever Split 1 and V8 Vets race earlier in the broadcast. And he qualified. excuse me, sorry, first time since season 19, my apologies. So it's been a while between drinks for Jason. He qualified 9th, excellent qualifying in a field of 40 plus cars, and now he's up 4, and he's just been, as you were alluding to, David, a quiet achiever, and now in this top 5 as we're coming to this safety car restart shortly.
So safety car's pulling away. Jordan Ross is again holding 80 kilometres an hour, and once again, it's Darren Lobb in second place, who's going to be trying to keep Jordan Ross honest. Just keep an eye for Darren Lobb dragging the brakes in this phase. That's what we saw last time. Jordan is out of here. That's very early in the chase. Darren Lobb wasn't quite as close as previous times. Going racing again to cross the start-finish line. The third restart with 5 laps of Mount Panorama to go. Jordan Ross qualified on pole and he leads. Darren Lobb qualified 3rd. He's in 2nd. Ladder qualified 4th. He's in 3rd. But Dan Hall qualified 18th and he runs 4th place right now. He might have a bit of pressure there, though.
I think so. Jason Spriggs is right up behind him there, and we'll be looking to make even more spots out of this on a great showing, as we just mentioned before. So we'll see how Dan does. Dan was actually very strong off that last restart. We saw him get Wayne Walker, and that was the beginning of sort of the unravelling of Wayne's race. So Dan made a great move and managed to get something done on cool tyres. So we'll see how he goes here. He's got just the smallest of gaps back to Spriggs. So that'll keep him feeling a little bit more comfortable as we come across the top of the mountain here, as we see Spriggs just struggling with traction there. Dan Hall as well. Oh, Taliancic, no! Oh, I think he just nicked the wall there. This will be awkward coming into the grate, though.
Yes, still sort of tough situation. Chris Miller ahead of Taliancic at the moment. Geez, Mike Taliancic is lucky.
You don't usually get away with them at Reed and Silman like that, and he has gotten away with one, sitting in 12th at the moment. 13th. So we're firing down Conrod now, looking at this battle pack here of Kirby, and we've got on board vision with Kirby as well as he manhandles the thing through the chase. Looking at the back of Jason Spriggs' car with Dan Hall has pulled nearly a second gap there, so in 4th place. So now Spriggs has got to be looking a bit in the rearview mirror here at Kirby, who is wanting to add another position to that already 14 positions up, as Jordan Ross again on that safety car restart sets the fastest lap of the race. He seems to be a wizard with these cold tyres, but carrying on now with 4 laps to go, only 4 to go in this, and there's still a lot to be sorted out.
I think Kirby's got his wheel a little close if he's got that much elbow bend going on, but that's the judgment I'm making based on that odd little angle that we've got of him running 6th place at the moment. Justin McLean behind, Jason Spriggs just ahead. Through the cutting, continuing up over the hill.
Yep, so...
Matt Vanderkraan at the cutting.
Vanderkraan. It has just been a story of woes for poor Matt tonight, between the brake issues and slowdowns and everything. It looks like he'll get going here, but he's just had to let the whole field past, and he'll keep going. That's such a shame. We've got a replay being queued up here now, so we'll see what's actually happened to him. Looks like he's battling it out hard here. Oh, he's been tagged by Crisdale in there. Vanderkraan tried to slow up to avoid the incident with the driver in front, and then Crisdale's been caught out and tagged him around. Oh. Let's have a look. Just going to have a look here.
That's not as unreasonable of Robert Crisdale as you might have thought.
The door was open.
Yeah, Vanderkraan's pushed to the outside of turn 2. No momentum. Jeff Thomas and Travis Hunt getting by him.
Yeah, that was an excellent save there, but yeah, you're not wrong there, David. For a second there for Robert Crisdale, it probably looked like the door was open, and then all of a sudden there was no space left. So he got his nose in there, and again, we'll leave this one for race control to sort out because they're the experts here, but that'll be a hard one to unpack, I reckon. So now back with live images here of second and third.
You have Darren Lobb under pressure, and Ken Latta probably sensing now's the opportunity. Maybe sat behind Darren Lobb a little bit in the previous run before the third safety car. No one's catching or stopping Jordan Ross, though. He's resetting the fastest lap of the race at a whim right now. So we go on board with Ken Latta in third. He doesn't have too much elbow bend going on. The distance between his seat and the steering wheel, and the distance between himself and Darren Lobb just gets a car length further over the top of the hill, sending down through Skyline Latta. Looks like he's willing to take a bit more curb in places here. By the time they get towards the dipper, he's right back on him.
Yeah, Latta is, as you said, he moved away a little bit there, but he's almost risking it a little bit more. Like, he's taking a bit more track, he's getting a bit closer to that dipper wall, taking a bit more curb at the S's, so he really wants this second spot from Lobb, and he's only a few tenths off it, but we're going to come round with 2 to go next time round. So I know these laps are long, but there aren't many passing opportunities, and one of the beauties of Bathurst is you don't just think about going for a move. You've got to plan it about half the track before you actually want to make that move to get the speed right and just make it as Latta's battling the car now, coming out of the chase, down to the last turn as we go to start the last 2 laps here at Mount Panorama.
Did you see that on board as we went into the chase? You could see the speedometer for Ken Latta. It said 292, which spells 300 kilometres an hour into the fastest corner in Australian motorsport.
You'll take that. 292 is not too bad, and I reckon my maths has never been great. I reckon we can round up to 300 for the V8 Vets.
I think the long storied history of supercars racing at this venue has earned itself the right for just a tiny bit of hyperbole, and maybe Mark Scaife has earned himself the right to a tiny bit of hyperbole as well. This is looking a bit willing. Stephen Banks, Christian Smart, Luke Allman into the cutting. Banks somewhat under pressure, like it's 2008.
That one sneaks up on you. Well done. As Banks is under pressure like it's 2008, he's doing well to keep it together. We saw Banks in the war a little bit earlier with one of those crashes, I think, as well. So it's been really good to see some of these guys battle back and really fight hard to keep in it tonight. Sometimes it's hard after you have an incident to keep your head in the game, and a lot of the guys here have done well. But he does have a very angry pack behind him who, a lap and a half to go here, are probably going to want to make up some positions if they can.
Biggest mover in the race still Christian Smart, though that's from qualifying to current position. If you count actual on-track overtakes, Mike Talyancic might be that driver. He's looking for one more on David Nash, and he'll just about get it, but only just.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be wrong there, David, with most passes on track to Talyancic. He's now +1 on his starting position after going down to last. But we're on the final lap here of 41 laps at the mountain, 250 kilometres. Jordan Ross out in front. Lobb still with Latta right up behind him there. Will we see a dive? Or will Will Lobb be able to hold Ladder off? This will be interesting here. Ladder's looking. He's going to go for the dive here. Wow, what a move. There's a bit of contact there. He's trying to shift him out wide. Lobb will kind of stay with him. Get up on the curb here. We'll see as they come down to the cutting. They're still side by side. They're going to carry this on here. Lobb's going to fight this back. He's into him, trying to hold him up wide on the marbles. He's done it. Ladder's going to stay in third. Wow. That is some hardcore racing for the last lap here at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, and where's Ken Ladder going to get another opportunity now? I think Darren Lobb might have it all covered off. None of them are catching Jordan Ross through the rest of the field here. David Kirby, Justin McLean, Damien Cairns. McLean in the 9.5 car runs just a tiny bit wide.
Yeah, you're exactly right with Lobb and Ladder. I think Lobb did very well to fight that back, and nice battling with those guys. But I think that was Ladder's one chances now. We're looking at this battle for fifth, which is still ongoing. But the only opportunity. Oh, that was a bit of a tag on the wall there for Damien Cairns. He's trying to add to it. We're looking at the leader now, Jordan Ross, as he comes down Conrod. He had to bide his time in that middle stint, and now finally starting to look for the race win here as we come down, watching Ladder as well into the chase, watching this battle pack as well. This is Cairns on McLean. We've got Taliancic trying to go for one last move. Oh no!
Moved Stephen Kennedy off the road. He's gone off the road himself. We're going to run out of superlatives for Jordan Ross, as he's a clean sweep so far on this season of RaceKraft V8 Vets. It's easy for us outside of the car to pontificate in the middle of the race about why Jordan Ross can just sit in second, why he can keep his cool. Much harder in the racing seat to abide by that sort of thinking, and he did, and it came back around to him and rewarded him. Luke Allman, Grumley is going to eat the wall before the checkered flag. There was also one of the Frog Leap juice cars around on the exit of Forest's Elbow. This race, every single one of 41 laps, has delivered drama, chaos, unpredictability, and a fair bit of work for race control. It's going to take us 5 minutes to unpack the final 2-minute lap of the race. So Scott McCune there at McPhillamy Park has an off. Taliancic incredibly brave, maybe ill-advised, not willing to go around the outside of Stephen Kennedy, switches to the inside, escorts both of them off the road. The redress is going to cause this. It's Chris Miller bumps doors with Taliancic. So he gets helped wide. There's a bit there, but that's after the checkered flag. Travis Hunt's in trouble well before this. My goodness. Okay, there's the Frog Leap juiced car.
It looks... Wow, that looks like Chris Dull might have just lost it on the dirt there and has gone into Hunt. So Hunt's cruising to the end, maybe with some damage or fuel, maybe? Yeah, it might be fuel because he's cruising along there. And well off the line. And now we need to figure out what happened to Luke Allman, who's just spun it on his own right into the Repco tyre barriers there. Unfortunately, no front bumpers available for the Camaro at Repco. Not that I know of anyway. And here we've got Stephen Grumley coming down, who's going to come down to the last turn here, trying to dodge around Travis Hunt. He too will have his own moment into the Repco concrete barrier, not tyre barrier, and spin it around. What a way to finish a race. Oh man, so close to the finish line.
My oh my. Everyone's crossed the checkered flag and the timing line now, so let's take a look at what all of that has meant for round 2 of RaceKraft V8 Veterans. Means Jordan Ross is the winner from Darren Lobb and Ken Latter as the podium, with Daniel Hall, Jason Spriggs, David Kirby, Justin McLean, Damien Cairns, David Nash, and John Latham as the top 10. In 11th was Stephen Kennedy, Chris Miller, Stephen Banks, Christian Smart, Mike Teliancic, Stephen Varga, Dean Flavel, Michael Stewart, Jeff Thomas, and Greg Sharp. My, and then in 21st, Wayne Sanderson, then Mark Poynton, Jonathan Gallen, Darren Goosey, Stacey Boyd, Troy Stonestreet, Scott Mackay, Darren Crosby, Wayne Walker 29th, having led at points. It'll be a tough pill for him to swallow. And Robert Crisdale 30th. Gary Buckland 31st. Stephen Grumley, reverse gear across the timing line in 32nd. That's extra distance if you've put the transponder in the nose of your car, but it gives him 32nd. Luke Allman, Scott McCune, Matty Parker, Chad Lewis, Matt Vanderkran, Travis Hunt, the last driver on the lead lap, Dean Logsdale, 3 laps down, Jamie McKnight, 7 laps down, and then Bruce Tannock, 7 laps down, Tim Nicol, Brad Doble, Michael Whiting, retirements from an incredibly dramatic race at Bathurst in RaceKraft V8 Vets.
Yep, you can say that again. Bathurst always delivers, and it didn't disappoint tonight. Lots of great passes, lots of great battles, and now we'll get to talk to the guys that brought it all home in that top 3.
Incident,
Third place, Ken Latta, who we have interrupted, but congratulations on the podium, Ken.
Yeah, thank you.
Last lap attempt at making it second instead of third didn't quite stick.
Yeah, I tried to sort of push on him, and it probably was maybe a little bit of a late dive into number 2, and then we had a little bit of side-by-side contact, and then on the next corner, the same thing. It felt like there was more in it when I was in the car, but when I had a look at it, there was really not much in it. So, just racing's racing, I suppose. We're both pushing.
And before the third safety car, you were right with Darren Lobb. He had one of the quickest pit stops. I think maybe it helped him save a little bit of fuel, and he's always one to make a short final pit stop and try to do some fuel stuff, and maybe it fell to his benefit.
Yeah, I think it definitely did, but I knew I was ahead of him that whole stint. I knew he'd be saving. Unless I made a mistake, he wasn't going to try and make a move on me in that stint anyway. And I knew that, he knew that, unless I literally let him by, but, I didn't do that. But yeah, I don't know. Safety car came, and I guess, it was on for young and old, but for the last stint, I wish it didn't actually come, because I was conserving my tyres, and I felt like I had my tyres were better than his, so that safety car basically gave him a lease of life for those few laps.
And I personally thought chance for safety car high, because any contact in the cutting or anything could block the track, but 3 seemed perhaps a little excessive.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
And for Fishy overall, good for you, but maybe tough for some of your teammates today.
Yeah, Whiting didn't do so well. He didn't finish. At Smarty, I think he was up. No, Kirby, he was up nearly 20 spots. Or was it 15 spots or something like that? So he did really well. Quali didn't go well for him. And I'm not too sure about the other guys. Not 100% sure.
Well, 250 kilometres later, you're on the podium. Congrats.
All right. Well done to Jordan Ross. Class of the field again, very fast. And to Lob, he really put up a good fight tonight. You guys, Race Control. And the sponsors at West End Motor Group, Infinity Design, DC Shades, Battery Warehouse, LD Beach, Precision Sim Training, and all the guys at Fishy.
You beauty, have a good season.
All right, thanks guys.
Want to go find second place, Brock?
Can do. Welcome to the commentators box, Darren Lobb. Congrats on second place, mate. It was a hard-fought battle out there. I'd love to hear a bit more about your strategy. That last stop got you up into second and you held it. What was the thought process there? Did you short fill, or were you just a bit better off on fuel than the others?
Yeah, it was a bit of both, to be honest. I short filled that last stop, but fractionally. I think by the end of the safety car, I managed to, I don't know, I think I was at a deficit of about 0.4 that I needed to save. And I kind of figured if I stayed close enough to Jordan, I'd be able to save it relatively easily, but he just kind of blasted off like he had an extra 100 horsepower. So that made it a little bit tricky because I was having to save ahead of Ken, and I'd kind of just got it to, I was 0.1 on the right side of things when the safety car came out. But I was having to push quite hard, so I thought, geez, at least it'll, I'll cool the tyres down a little bit and bring a little bit of life back into them, because I could see Ken was basically doing to me what I had done to him in the previous stint. So it all kind of kicks off from the mistake I made on the first lap when I tried to go around the outside of Wayne and Ken got past me. From that stage, it was kind of just engage the boring strat, fuel save as much as you can, and try to jump everyone in the last stint.
Yeah, well, you raced excellently out there, and I'd love to ask you about the mindset, or what was going through your mind at turn 2 on that last lap when Ken threw a Hail Mary down the inside. Where were you out there? Because you guys had an excellent battle up through the cutting. Did you even think about letting it go? You're like, we're going to go hard to the line to get this thing done.
Nah, man, we were going to crash it if I had to. I'm kidding. It would never quite come to that, but no. Look, I was watching him, and I kind of just took it a little bit easier than I probably needed to on that last lap. And the way I was following Ken earlier, I kind of realised where he was better than me under brakes and where he wasn't, and I didn't anticipate him having a lunge into turn 2. And I actually went back and had a look at it and thought, geez, that must have been a dive bomb of note. And he was a lot later than I was on the brakes, but geez, he got it turned in. He had overlap at the turning point, and I probably gave him, when I went back and watched it from out the car, a little bit more space than I thought I had given him, which was great. And then when we went up the drag, I was just going, if I've got a little bit of overlap there, I'm taking the inside line and let's see how this thing pans out. So it got a little bit messy, but isn't that what we're supposed to do on the last lap of a race? Bit of bump and grind.
That's it, Darren. Look, supercars bring out the best of the grit and the bump and grind, and we love to see it. It was all hard, fair racing in the end out there. Before we let you go, mate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, man, I just had a look at my mate Darso absolutely bagging me off in the stream about my dodgy paint. I'm not much of a painter, but I pulled the tools out and scraped this one together, got rid of the monster logos and put some other dodgy stuff. I thought it came out pretty good, so thanks Darso for hitting that up. But anyway, thanks to the DPR boys, thank you to you guys, and look forward to seeing everyone next week. Well done, Jordan.
Thanks, Darren, and for what it's worth, we love your livery and that Chem Block inspired look there. Well done, mate. We look forward to seeing you again next week.
Cheers, thanks, boys. I'll see you then.
And I think, David, all that leaves is Mr. Jordan Ross, the winner of the race. Let's bring him in.
Yes, indeed. Another really good-looking season for you, Jordan. Great qualifying, great race pace. You take the fastest lap of the race, but there was a moment in the middle there where Wayne Walker had jumped you with a significantly shorter pit stop, and you displayed a bit of patience before then hitting the afterburners again in the back half of the race.
Yeah, hey guys. Wayne's doing really well. He's I didn't realise, but he's only been on iRacing like not too long, and he's really quick. So I was just sort of sitting in behind him and just letting him let me save fuel and all that sort of stuff and save tyres, and would have been a cool race if it went green to see where he sort of dropped out, because we had I think 4 or 5 seconds on the group behind us, so unfortunate for him. But yeah, it was pretty fun race, mate. Unfortunately, wasn't going to do a lot of laps this week with the Pro Series last night, but it's always easy jumping in here, mate, with the fixed sets. You don't have to spend 3 nights doing the setup, so that's good.
Shouldn't have taken you too much time to learn the track either.
Done 1 or 2 laps around here, mate, so it was was sort of a couple of laps and straight into it. So, but yeah, the fixed setup was a bit of a handful tonight. It was fun to drive. It was really fast, but it bottomed out a lot at the metal grate, so you had to be careful not to wall it there. It was a couple of times got a bit sketchy out, and I thought I might be in the wall on the outside, but managed to pull it in.
So what's the big challenge and the focus racing here? Is it physical? Is it mental? Is it the strategic of nature of the safety cars and the 2 pit stops? We had a look at Dean Flavel's Dino Dyno heart rate, and it was lower than at a lot of other race tracks. But my co-commentator Brock Cadday speculates that mentally, up against the walls, this is quite a difficult track in your head, even if it's not in your arms and your legs.
Yeah, I mean, any track where it's like Belle Isle and stuff like that, when you're right up against the walls and you got to sort of, put a cigarette paper between you and the walls to go fast, you always have to be pretty on it, and any little mistake and you're probably out of the race. But my air conditioning at home's been broken for like 2 months, and the guy finally come out today, got the parts in and fixed it. So it's pretty good in here. It's been real sweaty the last few races, but mate, it's mega in here. I need to put on a jumper, so it's a pretty comfortable race.
What about your teammate Mike Taliancic? He was up and then he was down and then he was back up. He might have been the driver who made the most on-track passes today.
Yeah, he not sure what happened with quali. He probably didn't get the lap he wanted, but I think just prior to maybe with the lap to go, I think I heard him. He said he was up to about P10 and got in a little bit of a scuffle at the end there, trying to get some more passes done. But mate, he'll be next round. He'll be right up the front, I'm sure.
Well, congratulations and thank you, and we can all look forward to next round. Who gets it done for you and Synergy Sim Racing?
Yeah, obviously we got a new sponsor on board this year with SimSpeed gloves, and they just sent me the new gloves last week, and I wore them tonight. They're awesome. So thanks to them, and obviously you guys for putting on broadcast, all the organisers and all the competitors. Really enjoy it. Thanks.
See you next time out.
Thanks, guys.
Race winner Jordan Ross joining us. I don't think, Brock, there was any point across 41 laps there where we could predict what was going to happen on the next lap.
Look, I'm going to need a cold shower and a beer after this, I think. And I didn't even drive the race. We were just commentating it. So, look, it was an excellent race. It was a pretty carnage-filled race out there. But Bathurst always does cause that, as we're looking at the points table here now. So Jordan Ross now out in front there, 380 with 2 wins under his belt. Ladder and Lob separated by a mammoth margin of 1 point. So now we've got Taliancic still in 4th, even after a bit of a rough night out there. So that's a good effort there. His result in Sebring certainly paying off. Nash 5th, McLean 6th, Smart with a great race of plus 26 positions in 7th, Mark Point in 8th, Scott Mackay 9th, and Troy Stone Street 10th in the championship there. So still a lot to play out for here. As you can see, the points are tight. The way this structure works, we looked at it before the race, you can earn bonus points. The difference between points is not too much. So you got, as we roll through all the standings here, probably for just looking at these standings here, it was a rough night for a few people. Van der Kran in 22nd there is probably one of them. Rolling through now, Damien Cairns in 40th there, who we talked about a bit tonight. And then rolling through now all the way through to 49. So that's 49 competitors that we've had, 48 scoring competitors across 2 rounds, which is excellent for the RaceKraft V8 Vets Championship in this season 23.
Want to think about it with just 1 point between Lob and Latter. Latter will be getting the bonus point for the Zoom that Lob won't, but we don't know who had how many incidents. We know for sure Mike Taliancic ain't getting the bonus for no incidents across that one. And the one last matter of business before we say goodbye and good night to Mount Panorama Circuit is the Chubby Buns Burgers driver of the day. today will be going to the 4th place finisher, Dan Hall. From 18th on the grid, some moves, some great strategic calls, and he jumps himself up to 4th place, bagging some really solid points as well.
Yeah, completely agree. And we chatted a bit about that move on Wayne Walker at the second safety car restart to snag 4th, really set this race in motion for him and got him up into that, really into 4th and knocking on the door of 3rd place. So well done, Dan. Chubby Buns Burgers, driver of the day. You've earned it, and hopefully we see more good stuff from you later in the season.
Apparently that means you get a stubby holder these days, I learned recently, so Tan, you're welcome. And what a great performance from an incredibly unpredictable race, except for the man who won it, Jordan Ross. I've been David Haynes with Brock Cradday, Daniel Yeaman for SimSpeed TV as we brought you coverage of RaceKraft V8 Vets, and it continues on next time out, 1 week from now. Same place, same time, Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. If you live in any of the sensible places that don't try to mess around with the clock, keep in mind that the other states will be doing that between now and next week. David Haynes with Brock Cradday, Daniel Yeaman. Thank you so much to everyone who makes this broadcast and this series possible on SimSpeed TV. Title sponsor, RaceKraft Simulations, Logitech G, Nova Sim Sports, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Player One Sim Gear, LGC Images, Chubby Buns Burgers, and SudSpeed. We'll see you next time at Mid-Ohio.